Welcome. For professional exam preparation, tutoring, and study guides, scan the QR code or save the contact information shown on screen. Question 1. How can a data analytics unit govern cloud app use and enforce policy between users and SaaS platforms while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 1? A. Serial console cable. B. Cloud access security broker. C. An encrypted telnet. D. Open guest account. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Cloud Access Security Broker. ACASB provides visibility and policy enforcement for cloud service usage. Console cables, telnet, and guest accounts do not govern SaaS access or data controls. Question 2. Which control checks device posture before allowing systems onto a software company's internal network after a recent audit finding for scenario 1? A. Default printer sharing. B. Unlock server rack. C. Public DNS recursion. D. Network access control. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Network access control. NAC can evaluate identity, compliance, and device health before granting network access. Open recursion, printer sharing, and unlock racks do not enforce endpoint admission policy. Need help preparing for your exam? Scan the QR code or contact us on WhatsApp at +1 716 356 9126. You can also email remote.exam01@gmail.com for professional tutoring and study guides. Question 3. Which firewall approach should a call center use for a sensitive subnet with no stated business need for inbound access during a pilot deployment for scenario 1? A. Default denial with explicit allow rules. B. Permit any source to any destination. C. Allow all traffic and investigate later. D. Disable rule logging permanently. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Default denial with explicit allow rules. Default denial limits access to documented and approved flows only. Open rules and disabled logging expand attack paths and reduce visibility. Question 4. Which technology can actively block suspicious network traffic in line for a distribution warehouse while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 1? A. Passive IDs only. B. Intrusion prevention system. C. Cable label maker. D. Paper asset register. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Intrusion prevention system. An IPS sits in line and can block traffic that matches malicious patterns or behavior. A passive IDs alerts only, while asset registers and labels do not block traffic. Question 5. Which platform gives a regional clinic broader endpoint and telemetry correlation beyond traditional EDR as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 1? A. Local only calculator app. B. Extended detection and response. C. Plain text inventory. D. Unmanaged switch. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Extended detection and response. XDR correlates telemetry across multiple security layers to improve detection and response. Inventory text, local utilities, and unmanaged switches do not provide cross-layer security analytics. Question 6. How should a payment processor secure company phones that access business email before the production rollout for scenario 1? A. Share one phone for all employees. B. Let users disable all lock screens. C. Store passwords in contact names. D. Use mobile device management to enforce encryption, screen lock, and remote wipe. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Use mobile device management to enforce encryption, screen lock, and remote wipe. MDM allows centralized enforcement of mobile security settings and recovery actions. No screen locks, shared phones, and visible passwords weaken mobile access control. Question 7. For personally owned devices at a school district, which approach separates corporate data from personal data during a service reliability review for scenario 1? A. Local admin rights for every user. B. Public file sharing. C. Disabling device encryption. D. Containerization or managed work profile. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is decontainerization or managed work profile. Containerization keeps business data managed and separable from personal content. Public sharing, no encryption, and broad administrator rights increase data exposure. Question 8. Which wireless configuration best supports enterprise user authentication at a logistics company while updating the runbook for scenario 138? A. Share WPA password posted publicly. B. Open Wisconsin file with no encryption. C. WPA3 enterprise with 8021X authentication. D. Web for compatibility. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is WPA3 Enterprise with 8021X authentication. WPA3 Enterprise with 8021X provides stronger encryption and individual authentication. Open networks, public shared passwords, and web are weak or obsolete. Question 9. Before deploying new laptops, which step helps a cloud startup maintain consistent security settings for the next maintenance window for scenario 139? A. Remove endpoint protection. B. Let each user choose security settings randomly. C. Disable automatic updates forever. D. Apply a secure baseline image and verify compliance. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Apply a secure baseline image and verify compliance. A baseline image standardizes approved configuration and reduces configuration drift, random settings, disabled updates, and removed protect. Question 10. Which method safely analyzes a suspicious attachment received by a manufacturing plant during a quarterly review for scenario 1310? A. Open it on a production domain controller. B. Disable antivirus before testing. C. Forward it to all employees. D. Open it in a sandboxed analysis environment. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Open it in a sandboxed analysis environment. Sandboxing isolates execution so analysts can observe behavior with reduced risk to production systems. Production execution, broad forwarding, and disabled defenses can spread malware. Question 11. How can a legal office detect related events across firewalls, endpoints, and identity logs while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 1311? A. Use SIEM correlation rules. B. Rely on one user's memory. C. Delete older identity logs. D. Use only handwritten notes. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Use SIEM correlation rules. A. SIEM centralizes and correlates logs to identify patterns that individual tools may miss. Manual notes, deleted logs, and memory cannot reliably correlate distributed events. Question 12. Which automation helps a managed service provider respond consistently when phishing is reported after a recent audit finding for scenario 1312? A. A public spreadsheet of user passwords. B. A disabled mail gateway. C. A manual process stored only in one person's inbox. D. A SOAR playbook that enriches, quarantines, and opens an investigation ticket. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. A SOAR playbook that enriches, quarantines, and opens an investigation ticket. SOAR playbooks automate repeatable response steps and reduce delay during common incidents. Unstructured manual processes, disabled gateways, and exposed passwords undermine response quality. Question 13. How should a retail chain limit standing administrator access to critical systems during a pilot deployment for scenario 1313? A. No approval for privileged sessions. B. Privileged access management with just-in-time elevation. C. Permanent domain admin rights for every technician. D. A shared root password. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Privileged access management with just-in-time elevation. PAM and just-in-time access reduce the time and scope of privileged exposure. Permanent broad rights, shared passwords, and no approval weaken accountability and control. Question 14. Which identity approach lets a city agency use one trusted login across multiple cloud applications while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 14? A. Anonymous access to all apps. B. Federated single sign-on. C. Plain text password sharing. D. Local accounts in every app with different owners. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Federated Single Sign-On. Federated SSO allows applications to trust a central identity provider for authentication. Separate and managed accounts, anonymous access, and password sharing reduce control and visibility. Question 15. A push-based MFA system at a research lab is being abused with repeated prompts. Which improvement helps as part of a risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 15? A. Tell users to approve every prompt. B. Make passwords shorter. C. Number matching or phishing resistant MFA. D. Turn off MFA for all users. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Number matching or phishing resistant MFA. Number matching and phishing resistant methods reduce accidental approvals and push fatigue risk. Disabling MFA, approving every prompt, and shorter passwords weaken authentication. Question 16. When an employee leaves an insurance firm, which EM process must happen quickly before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 16? A. Keep VPN access active indefinitely. B. Increase the user's privileges. C. Deprovision accounts and revoke active sessions. D. Forward credentials to the new hire. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Deprovision accounts and revoke active sessions. Timely deprovisioning prevents former users from accessing systems after separation. More privileges, credential sharing, and indefinite access create avoidable risk. Question 17. Which log management practice helps a hospital network support investigations and complaints during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 17? A. Delete logs before incidents are reviewed. B. Store logs only in volatile memory. C. Allow anyone to edit logs. D. Define retention periods and protect logs from unauthorized modification. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Define retention periods and protect logs from unauthorized modification. Retention and integrity controls preserve evidence and make investigation timelines more reliable. Editable, volatile, or prematurely deleted logs weaken accountability and compliance. Question 18. During incident response at a university department, which step focuses on stopping further damage after detection while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 18? A. Procurement. B. Containment. C. Marketing review. D. Routine onboarding. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Containment. Containment isolates affected accounts, hosts, or network paths to limit the incident's spread. Procurement, marketing, and onboarding are business activities outside the immediate incident control phase. Question 19. Which practice preserves evidence integrity when a financial services team collects a laptop for forensics for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 19? A. Maintain chain of custody documentation. B. Store evidence with no labels. C. Let multiple people use the laptop casually. D. Wipe the drive before imaging. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Maintain chain of custody documentation. Chain of custody records who handled evidence, when it was handled, and how it was protected. Casual use, wiping, and unlabeled storage undermine evidence reliability. Question 20. After restoring service, what should a remote sales group perform to prevent the same incident from recurring during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 20? A. Cancel all future testing. B. Root cause analysis. C. Ignore the original weakness. D. Delete lessons learned notes. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Root cause analysis. Root cause analysis identifies the underlying issue and informs corrective action. Ignoring weaknesses, deleting notes, and canceling tests make recurrence more likely. Question 21. Which activity best describes threat hunting at a data analytics unit while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 21? A. Approving every firewall change without review. B. Proactively searching telemetry for signs of compromise based on a hypothesis. C. Waiting only for users to complain. D. Turning off all alerts. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Proactively searching telemetry for signs of compromise based on a hypothesis. Threat hunting is proactive and hypothesis driven rather than only alert driven. Passive waiting, disabled alerts, and unreviewed changes reduce detection capability. Question 22. Which backup strategy improves a software company's ransomware resilience after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 22? A. Store backups on the infected server only. B. Keep the only backup mounted to every workstation. C. Maintain offline or immutable backups tested through restoration. D. Never test restores. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Maintain offline or immutable backups tested through restoration. Immutable or offline backups resist alteration by malware, and restore testing confirms recoverability. Always mounted, untested, or same server backups may fail during ransomware recovery. Question 23. If a call center can lose at most 15 minutes of data, which metric is being defined during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 23? A. Mean time between failures. B. Recovery point objective. C. Mean time to repair. D. Annualized rate of occurrence. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Recovery point objective. RPO defines the maximum acceptable amount of data loss measured in time. MTBF, MTTR, and RO describe reliability, repair time, and likelihood rather than data loss tolerance. Question 24. Which recovery site should a distribution warehouse choose when it needs near immediate failover with running infrastructure while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 24? A. Unpowered storage closet. B. Empty office suite. C. Hot site. D. Cold site. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Hot site. A hot site has systems and connectivity ready for rapid failover. Cold or empty locations require significant setup and cannot provide near immediate recovery. Question 25. Why would a regional clinic place multiple web servers behind a load balancer as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 25? A. To remove the need for patching. B. To store encryption keys and cookies. C. To distribute traffic and improve service availability. D. To make passwords optional. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. To distribute traffic and improve service availability. Load balancing spreads requests and can route around failed servers. Patching, authentication, and key management remain necessary regardless of load balancing. Question 26. Which power control helps a payment processor handle short utility outages for network equipment before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 26? A. Open wireless network. B. Flat LAN design. C. Uninterruptible power supply. D. Expired TLS certificate. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Uninterruptible power supply. A. UPS supplies temporary power and can bridge short outages or allow graceful shutdown. Open Wisconsin PHY, flat VLANs, and expired certificates do not provide electrical continuity. Question 27. How should a school district secure infrastructure as code templates before deployment during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 27? A. Deploy templates directly from personal laptops without review. B. Hardcode secrets in every template. C. Scan templates for misconfigurations and require code review. D. Disable version control. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is E. Scan templates for misconfigurations and require code review. EX scanning and review catch insecure settings before they become live infrastructure. Unreviewed deployments, hard-coded secrets, and no version control increase cloud risk. Question 28. Which step reduces risk from vulnerable container images in a logistics company's registry while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 28? A. Store secrets in image layers. B. The answer is D. Scan images and rebuild from trusted base images. Image scanning and trusted rebuilds help remove known vulnerabilities and unsafe components. Privileged containers, ignored provenance, and secrets in layers increase compromise impact. Question 29. In a public cloud deployment, which statement about shared responsibility is accurate for a cloud startup for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 29? A. The provider handles every customer password. B. The provider secures the underlying cloud, while the customer secures configured workloads and data. C. No one is responsible for identity controls. D. The customer maintains the provider's physical data center. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. The provider secures the underlying cloud, while the customer secures configured workloads and data. Shared responsibility divides duties between the cloud provider and the customer based on service model. Passwords, physical facilities, and identity controls cannot be ignored or assigned incorrectly. Question 30. Which remote access design gives a manufacturing plant stronger access control than exposing admin ports to the internet during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 30? A. Disable logging for remote sessions. B. Publish SSH private keys. C. Use a VPN or zero trust access broker with MFA. D. Expose RDP to any source. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is you use a VPN or zero trust access broker with MFA. Controlled remote access with strong authentication reduces exposure of administrative services. Open admin ports, exposed keys, and disabled logs increase the chance and impact of compromise. Question 31. Which classification should a legal office apply to payroll data before choosing safeguards while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 31? A. Public marketing content. B. Anonymous weather data. C. Sensitive or confidential. D. Discarded test data with no controls. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Sensitive or confidential. Payroll records contain personal and financial information that requires stronger protection. Public, discarded, or anonymous labels understate the sensitivity of payroll data. Question 32. How should a managed service provider protect database files stored on cloud volumes after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 32? A. Disable access logs. B. Use encryption at rest with controlled key access. C. Store all files world readable. D. Use guest accounts for database administrators. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Use encryption at rest with controlled key access. Encryption at rest protects stored data if media or snapshots are exposed, while key access controls limit use. World readable files, no logs, and guest administration weaken confidentiality and accountability. Question 33. Which key management practice is strongest for retail chains? High value signing keys during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 33. A. Store and manage keys in an HSM with rotation procedures. B. Reuse one key forever. C. Place keys in public code repositories. D. Email private keys to administrators. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Store and manage keys in an HSM with rotation procedures. An HSM helps protect private keys from extraction and supports controlled cryptographic operations. A mailing, never rotating, or publishing keys destroys the trust those keys provide. Question 34. Which analysis helps a city agency identify critical processes and acceptable downtime while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 34? A. Ward driving survey. B. Business impact analysis. C. Password reuse check only. D. Packet fragmentation test. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Business impact analysis. A. maps business processes to impact, recovery priorities, and downtime tolerance. Wireless surveys, fragmentation tests, and password checks do not define business recovery priorities. Question 35. Which document should a research lab maintain to track identified risks, owners, likelihood, impact, and treatment plans as part of a risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 35? A. DHCP lease file only. B. Cable crimper. C. Wallpaper policy. D. Risk register. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Risk Register. A risk register documents risk details and supports ongoing management and accountability. Hardware tools, lease files, and cosmetic policies do not track organizational risk treatment. Question 36. Which risk strategy is used when an insurance firm buys cyber insurance for certain financial losses before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 36? A. Risk acceptance only. B. Risk transference. C. Risk ignoring. D. Risk avoidance by deleting all systems. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Risk transference. Insurance transfers part of the financial impact to another party under defined conditions. Acceptance keeps the risk. Avoidance eliminates the activity. And ignoring is not a valid management strategy. Question 37. After remediation, a hospital network still has a small remaining exposure approved by leadership. What is this called during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 37? A. Residual risk. B. False encryption. C. Broadcast storm. D. Zero risk. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Residual risk. Residual risk is the risk that remains after controls or treatments are applied. Zero risk is unrealistic. False encryption is not a standard risk term. And broadcast storm is a network condition. Question 38. Which due diligence item should a university department request from a vendor that will host sensitive data while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 38? A. A shared administrator password. B. Permission to bypass contractual review. C. A promise to avoid all documents. The answer is D. Security questionnaire, audit report, and data handling commitments. Vendor due diligence evaluates whether the third party can protect data and meet obligations. No documentation shared. Question 39. Which agreement defines expected uptime and response targets for a financial services team's managed security provider for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 39? A. Open guest Wi-Fi policy. B. Service level agreement. C. Personal text message. D. Password hint list. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Service level agreement. And SLA documents measurable service expectations such as uptime, response time, and escalation commitments. Informal messages, Wi-Fi policies, and password hints do not establish service performance terms. Question 40. Before sharing proprietary designs with a consultant, which document should a remote sales group require during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 40? A. Open source license for all data. B. Non-disclosure agreement. C. Public press release. D. Default root or password list. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Non-disclosure agreement. An NDA creates confidentiality obligations for information shared with the consultant. Press releases, broad open licensing, and password lists do not protect proprietary information. Question 41. Which contract clause helps a data analytics unit verify a vendor's security controls over time while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 41? A. Unlimited anonymous access. B. No logging requirement. C. Right to audit. D. Permanent waiver of review. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Right to audit. A right to audit clause allows the organization to assess or verify vendor controls according to the agreement. Anonymous access, no logs, and review waivers reduce oversight. Question 42. How should a software company reduce privacy risk when collecting customer data after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 42? A. Collect every possible field just in case. B. Collect only the data needed for a defined business purpose. C. Store data forever without review. D. Publish customer records for testing. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Collect only the data needed for a defined business purpose. Data minimization limits exposure by reducing unnecessary collection and retention. Over collection, indefinite storage, and public testing data increase privacy and compliance risk. Question 43. Which assessment is performed by an independent party to evaluate a call center's controls during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 43? A. External audit. B. Unplanned production reboot. C. Casual hallway conversation. D. Uncontrolled self-editing of logs. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. External audit. An external audit uses an independent reviewer to assess control design or operation. Self-edited logs, informal conversations, and reboots are not independent control assessments. Question 44. Which training outcome is most useful after a distribution warehouse runs a phishing simulation while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 44? A. Managers disable security reporting. B. Employees recognize suspicious messages and report them through the approved channel. C. Employees learn to approve unknown MFA prompts. D. Users store passwords in email drafts. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Employees recognize suspicious messages and report them through the approved channel. Awareness training should improve recognition and reporting of social engineering attempts, approving prompts, storing passwords in drafts, and disabling reporting undermine security culture. Question 45. How should security analysts protect confidentiality when a regional clinic shares regulated reports with a contractor as part of a risk reduction project? A. Encrypt the files and restrict access to authorized recipients. B. Store the files without permissions for faster access. C. Send the files through an unsigned public link. D. Publish the files on an internal wiki. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Encrypt the files and restrict access to authorized recipients. Encryption and access control reduce the chance that sensitive data is viewed by unauthorized users. Open sharing, weak permissions, and public links expose the data instead of protecting confidentiality. Question 46. Which control best supports integrity when a payment processor needs proof that a downloaded firmware image was not altered before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 46? A. Rename the firmware file after download. B. Compare the vendor provided hash with the downloaded file hash. C. Disable logging during the firmware upgrade. Decompress the firmware before installation. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Compare the vendor provided hash with the downloaded file hash. A cryptographic hash changes when the file changes, making it useful for validating integrity. Compression, renaming, and disabling logs do not prove that the file contents remained unchanged. Question 47. Why would a school district deploy redundant power and clustering for the HR system during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 47? A. To make stored data anonymous. B. To improve availability during component failures. C. To remove the need for authentication. D. To replace incident response planning. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. To improve availability during component failures. Redundancy allows a service to continue operating when a single component fails. Authentication, anonymization, and incident response address different security goals and do not directly provide high availability. Question 48. When a logistics company needs proof that an administrator approved a critical change, which mechanism is strongest while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 48? A. A shared administrator password. B. A deleted change ticket. C. A verbal approval with no record. D. A digitally signed approval record. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. A digitally signed approval record. Digital signatures support non-repudiation because they bind approval to a specific signer and protect the record from undetected modification. Shared passwords, verbal approval, and deleted records weaken accountability. Question 49. A help desk at a cloud startup must distinguish authentication from authorization. Which statement is accurate for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 49? A. Authorization proves a user's identity with a password. B. Authentication verifies identity, while authorization determines allowed actions. C. Authentication assigns file permissions after login. D. Authorization replaces logging for privileged accounts. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Authentication verifies identity, while authorization determines allowed actions. Authentication answers who the user is, and authorization answers what the verified user may access. Permissions alone do not verify identity. Passwords are authentication factors, and logging remains part of accountability. Question 50. During a zero trust rollout for a manufacturing plant, which design principle should guide access to the wireless network during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 50? A. Place every system on one flat internal VLAN. B. Continuously verify identity, device posture, and context before allowing access. C. Trust all users once they are on the corporate network. D. Disable MFA to reduce login friction. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Continuously verify identity, device posture, and context before allowing access. Zero trust assumes no implicit trust and evaluates access requests based on verified signals. Network location alone, weaker authentication, and flat segmentation conflict with zero trust principles. Need help preparing for your exam? Scan the QR code or contact us on WhatsApp at +1 716 356 9126. You can also email remote.exams01@gmail.com for professional tutoring and study guides. Question 51. Which example is a preventive technical control for a legal office's database cluster while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 51? A. A weekly executive risk report. B. A firewall rule that blocks unauthorized inbound traffic. C. A policy document stored in the HR portal. D. A CCTV recording reviewed after theft. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. A firewall rule that blocks unauthorized inbound traffic. A firewall rule can technically prevent unwanted traffic before it reaches the service. Reports, recordings, and policy documents are useful, but they do not directly prevent traffic at the technical boundary. Question 52. After suspicious activity appears in a managed service provider's logs, which control acts primarily as detective after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 52? A. A password complexity policy. B. A door badge reader that controls entry. C. SIEM correlation that alerts on abnormal events. D. Disk encryption on laptops. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. SIEM correlation that alerts on abnormal events. SIEM alerting identifies and reports events that may require investigation. Encryption, badge access, and password policy are mainly protective or preventive rather than detective. Question 53. If a retail chain cannot immediately replace a legacy system, which approach is a compensating control during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 53? A. Disable backups to reduce system load. B. Place the system on an isolated VLAN with strict firewall rules. C. Give all users local administrator rights. D. Ignore the weakness until the next budget cycle. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Place the system on an isolated VLAN with strict firewall rules. A compensating control reduces risk when the preferred control cannot be implemented right away. Ignoring the issue, expanding privileges, and disabling backups increase operational and security exposure. Question 54. Which item is a directive control during a city agency security awareness program while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 54? A. A honeypot collecting attacker behavior. B. A backup server replicating data. C. A written policy requiring users to report suspected phishing. D. ANIPS blocking malicious traffic. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. A written policy requiring users to report suspected phishing. Directive controls tell people what actions or behavior are required. IPS, honeypots, and backups are technical controls that detect, deceive, or recover rather than direct behavior. Question 55. Why might a research lab deploy honeypot inside a monitored lab network as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 55? A. To observe attacker behavior against a decoy system. B. To guarantee malware cannot enter the network. C. To replace all endpoint protection tools. D. To store production credentials for faster login. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. To observe attacker behavior against a decoy system. A honeypot is a deception technology that attracts or monitors suspicious activity in a controlled environment. It should not contain real credentials, replace layered defenses, or be treated as a guarantee against malware. Question 56. Before changing firewall rules for an insurance firm's wireless network, which change management item is most important before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 56? A. An informal chat message with no ticket. B. A password reset for every employee. C. Documented approval, testing plan, rollback plan, and implementation window. D. Immediate production changes without review. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Documented approval, testing plan, rollback plan, and implementation window. Formal change management reduces outage and security risk by requiring review, testing, scheduling, and rollback planning. Informal approval and review production changes. Question 57. During a software release at a hospital network, which practice best supports accountability for configuration changes during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 57? A. Use version control with commit history and reviewed pull requests. B. Share one generic deployment account. C. Store final scripts only on one administrator's laptop. D. Remove comments and history from every script. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Use version control with commit history and reviewed pull requests. Version control preserves change history and associates updates with identifiable contributors and reviewers. Single device storage, shared accounts, and removed history make changes harder to trace. Question 58. Which PKI component lets a university department's browsers verify that a server certificate chains to a trusted issuer while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 58? A. Certificate authority. B. Packet sniffer. C. Wireless access point. D. Broadcast domain. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Certificate authority. A certificate authority issues and signs certificates that clients can validate through a trust chain. Access points, broadcast domains, and packet sniffers do not establish certificate trust. Question 59. How does asymmetric encryption help a financial services team exchange data securely with external partners for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 59? A. It uses one shared password for every partner. B. It uses a public key and a private key for encryption-related operations. C. It removes the need for certificate validation. D. It stores all private keys in DNS records. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. It uses a public key and a private key for encryption-related operations. Asymmetric cryptography uses key pairs, allowing secure exchange and verification without sharing the private key, shared passwords, skip validation, and public storage of private keys weaken trust and confidentiality. Question 60. Which method should a remote sales group use to store user passwords more safely during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 60? A. Salted and slow cryptographic password hashing. B. Plain text storage in a protected spreadsheet. C. Reversible encryption with the key beside the database. D. Base 64 encoding before saving the password. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Salted and slow cryptographic password hashing. Salting and slow password hashing make password cracking more difficult if the database is stolen. Plain text, poorly managed reversible encryption, and encoding do not provide appropriate password storage protection. Question 61. Why is a unique salt added before hashing passwords for a data analytics unit's account database while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 61? A. It allows administrators to recover forgotten passwords. B. It replaces the need for MFA. C. It prevents identical passwords from producing identical stored hashes. D. It turns The answer is C. It prevents identical passwords from producing identical stored hashes. A salt makes pre-computed hash attacks and duplicate password identification less effective. Salting does not enable recovery, replace MFA, or make a hash reversible. Question 62. Which cryptographic feature should a software company use to verify both message integrity and sender authenticity after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 62? A. Guest VLAN. B. Digital signature. C. Load balancer. D. Screen lock timer. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Digital signature. A digital signature validates that the message was signed by the private key holder and has not changed. A. VLAN, load balancer, and screen lock do not provide cryptographic proof of sender and content integrity. Question 63. When a call center wants to process payments without storing actual card numbers, which technique is most appropriate during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 63? A. Tokenization. B. Screen sharing. C. Port forwarding. D. Password spraying. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Tokenization. Tokenization replaces sensitive values with tokens that have limited meaning outside the payment system. Screen sharing and port forwarding do not reduce stored payment data exposure, while password spraying is an attack. Question 64. For a training screenshot at a distribution warehouse, which method hides sensitive fields while preserving the document format while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 64? A. Data masking. B. Tailgating. C. Open relay configuration. D. ARP spoofing. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Data masking. Data masking conceals sensitive values while keeping realistic structure for training or testing. ARP spoofing, open relays, and tailgating are security risks, not privacy-preserving data handling methods. Question 65. After a regional clinic's file shares are encrypted and a payment note appears, which first response is most appropriate as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 65? A. Isolate affected systems and preserve evidence for recovery. B. Delete all logs to free disk space. C. Reconnect infected hosts to verify spread. D. Pay immediately without validating backups. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Isolate affected systems and preserve evidence for recovery. Isolation limits further ransomware impact while evidence preservation supports investigation and recovery decisions. Immediate payment, log deletion, and reconnecting infected hosts can worsen the incident or destroy useful evidence. Question 66. A user at a payment processor receives an email urging immediate password verification through a lookalike login page. Which attack is most likely before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 66? A. Bluejacking. B. Smurf attack. C. Phishing. D. Port scanning. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Phishing. Phishing uses deceptive messages and spoof pages to trick users into giving up credentials or sensitive information. Bluejacking, Smurf attacks, and port scanning describe different technical activities. Question 67. Which clue best indicates spear phishing against an executive at a school district during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 67? A. A blocked inbound ping from a scanner. B. A routine patch notification from the approved portal. C. A highly personalized email referencing a real project and asking for urgent action. D. A broadcast outage affecting all switches. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. A highly personalized email referencing a real project and asking for urgent action. Spear phishing targets a specific person or role using tailored details to increase credibility. Outages, valid patch notices, and blocked pings do not indicate a personalized social engineering attempt. Question 68. During a phone call, an attacker claims to be its support and asks a user at a logistics company for an MFA code. Which term fits best while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 68? A. Phishing. B. Pretexting through USB. C. DNS tunneling. D. Smishing. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Phishing. Phishing is voice-based social engineering that uses phone calls to manipulate victims. Smishing uses text messages. USB pretexting is not the best label here, and DNS tunneling is a network technique. Question 69. If employees at a cloud startup receive text messages linking to fake payroll login, which threat vector is being used for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 69? A. War driving. B. Smishing. C. Password salting. D. VLAN hopping. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Smishing. Smishing is phishing delivered through SMS or text messaging. VLAN hopping and war driving are network attacks, while password salting is a defensive storage technique. Question 70. Which action best reduces supply chain risk before a manufacturing plant adopts a new software vendor during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 70? A. Disable software updates permanently. B. Review the vendor's security controls, update process, and contractual obligations. C. Skip vendor review because the product is popular. D. Use the vendor's default admin password. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Review the vendor security controls, update process, and contractual obligations. Vendor assessment helps identify risks introduced by third-party software and support processes. Popularity, default credentials, and disabled updates leave supply chain weaknesses unmanaged. Question 71. How can a legal office better detect a trusted employee abusing access to the HR system while preparing a remediation plan? A. Give the employee additional shared accounts. B. Disable all logging for privacy. C. Move the asset to public internet access. D. Monitor behavior for anomalous activity tied to the user's normal baseline. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Monitor behavior for anomalous activity tied to the user's normal baseline. User and entity behavior analytics can reveal insider activity that differs from expected patterns. Reduced logging, shared accounts, and public exposure make abuse harder to detect and contain. Question 72. When staff at a managed service provider use an unsanctioned file sharing app for customer records, which issue is present after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 72? A. Immutable backup. B. Network tap. C. Shadow it. D. Certificate pinning. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Shadow it. Shadow it occurs when users adopt technology without organizational approval or governance. Certificate pinning, immutable backups, and network taps describe approved technical mechanisms, not unsanctioned service use. Question 73. Which attack uses stolen username password pairs from one breach to try logins at a retail chain's portal during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 73? A. DNS zone transfer. B. Authentication flood. C. Birthday attack. D. Credential stuffing. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Credential stuffing. Credential stuffing relies on reused credentials from other breaches to gain access to different services. Birthday attacks target hash collisions. Zone transfers expose DNS data. And authentication floods target wireless availability. Question 74. An attacker tries a few common passwords against many accounts at a city agency. Which attack is most likely while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 74? A. SQL injection. B. Pass the ticket. C. Password spraying. D. MAC filtering. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Password spraying. Password spraying avoids rapid lockout by testing common passwords across many accounts. Pass the ticket abuses Kerberos tickets. SQL injection targets applications. And MAC filtering is a weak access control method. Question 75. After obtaining an NTLM hash at a research lab, an attacker authenticates without knowing the plain text password. Which attack is shown as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 75? A. Key stretching. B. Pass the hash. C. ARP inspection. D. Rainbow table prevention. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Pass the hash. Pass the hash uses captured password hashes as authentication material in compatible environments. ARP inspection and key stretching are defenses, while rainbow table prevention describes a protection goal, not the attack. Question 76. Which control most directly reduces risk from stolen passwords at an insurance firm's remote access portal before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 76? A. Longer DHCP leases. B. A public file share. C. Multi-factor authentication. D. A larger wireless channel width. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Multi-factor authentication. MFA requires another proof beyond the password, reducing the usefulness of stolen credentials. DHCP leases, channel width, and public sharing do not strengthen authentication. Question 77. A web format a hospital network concatenates user input into SQL queries. Which secure coding practice is best during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 77? A. Hide error messages only after deployment. B. Allow every character without validation. C. Use parameterized queries. D. Run the database as a domain administrator. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is you use parameterized queries. Parameterized queries separate code from user supply data, reducing SQL injection risk, unrestricted input, superficial error hiding, and excessive database privileges leave the application exposed. Question 78. Which defense best reduces reflected script execution in a university department's web application while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 78? A. Open SNMP community strings. B. Output encoding and input validation. C. Disabling backups. D. Static routing only. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Output encoding and input validation. Cross-site scripting risk is reduced when entrusted input is validated and safely encoded before rendering. SNMP strings, static routing, and disabled backups do not address browser script injection. Question 79. How should a financial services team protect a state-changing web request from forged browser submissions for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 79? A. Require users to clear browser history daily. B. Use anti-CSRF tokens tied to the user session. C. Move the server to a larger subnet. D. Increase the DNS-TTL. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Use anti-CSRF tokens tied to the user session. Anti-CSRF tokens help verify that a request came from the legitimate application flow. DNS-TTL, subnet size, and browser history clearing do not validate request intent. Question 80. A cloud app at a remote sales group can be tricked into requesting the metadata service URL. Which vulnerability is most likely during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 80? A. Data tokenization. B. LDAP signing. C. MAC flooding. D. Server-side request forgery. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Server-side request forgery. SSRF causes a server to make unintended requests, often to internal or metadata endpoints. MAC flooding targets switches. LDAP signing is a protection, and tokenization is a data protection method. Question 81. Which control best reduces path traversal in a data analytics unit's file download feature while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 81? A. Disable TLS on the site. B. Normalize and validate file paths against an allowed directory. C. Place database backups in the web root. D. Use shared local administrator accounts. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Normalize and validate file paths against an allowed directory. Path validation prevents requests such as parent directory traversal from reaching unauthorized files, disabling TLS, exposing backups, and shared admin accounts create additional security problems. Question 82. For a legacy application at a software company, which feature helps reduce buffer overflow exploitation after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 82? A. Longer DHCP release times. B. Larger email attachments. C. A flat network topology. D. Address space layout randomization and data execution prevention. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Address space layout randomization and data execution prevention. ASLR and department make memory exploitation harder by randomizing locations and preventing execution in data regions. Attachment size, flat networks, and DHCP releases do not mitigate memory corruption. Question 83. A public site for a call center is overwhelmed by traffic from thousands of sources. Which mitigation is strongest during a pilot deployment for scenario 13 to 83? A. Use DDoS scrubbing or CDN-based protection. B. Move all backups to the web server. C. Publish database credentials for transparency. D. Disable MFA for administrators. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Use DDoS scrubbing or CDN-based protection. DDoS protection absorbs or filters large attack traffic before it reaches the origin service. Weakening administration and exposing credentials or backups increases risk without addressing traffic volume. Question 84. Which control helps prevent an on-path attacker from reading credentials to distribution warehouses portal while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 84? A. Allow expired certificates. B. Enforce modern TLS with certificate validation. C. Use plain HTTP for faster loading. D. Share a single account for all users. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Enforce modern TLS with certificate validation. TLS with valid certificates encrypts traffic and helps clients verify the server identity. Plain HTTP, expired certificates, and shared accounts make credential interception or misuse more likely. Question 85. An attacker on a regional clinic's LAN sends fake ARP replies to intercept traffic. Which protection is relevant as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 85? A. Password history. B. Dynamic ARP inspection. C. Data masking. D. Email journaling. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Dynamic ARP inspection. Dynamic ARP inspection helps block malicious ARP responses based on trusted bindings. Email journaling, masking, and password history do not validate ARP traffic. Question 86. Which measure helps reduce DNS cache poisoning risk for a payment processor before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 86? A. Route all traffic through Telnet. B. Use secure DNS practices such as DNS SEC validation and patch resolvers. C. Disable endpoint logging. D. Reuse default router passwords. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Use secure DNS practices such as DNS SEC validation and patched resolvers. DNS SEC validation and maintained resolvers help detect or prevent forged DNS data. Less logging, default passwords, and Telnet weaken security and do not protect DNS integrity. Question 87. A user at a school district joins a fake Wi-Fi network imitating the office SSID. Which attack is most likely during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 87? A. Logic bomb. B. Directory traversal. C. Blue team exercise. D. Evil twin. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Evil twin. An evil twin is a rogue wireless network made to look legitimate so users connect to it. Logic bombs and traversal attacks are different threats, while a blue team exercise is defensive. Question 88. Which step helps a logistics company find unauthorized wireless access points while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 88? A. Use only shared local accounts. B. Perform wireless scans and compare findings to the approved inventory. C. Disable all switch logs. D. Increase password reuse. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Perform wireless scans and compare findings to the approved inventory. Wireless scanning detects access points that are not part of the approved environment. Reduced logging, shared accounts, and password reuse make rogue devices and abuse harder to control. Question 89. A workstation at a cloud startup shows kernel-level persistence after malware removal attempts. Which response is safest for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 89? A. Image the system from trusted media after preserving evidence. B. Trust the same infected operating system to clean itself. C. Give the user domain admin rights. D. Add the malware folder to antivirus exclusions. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Image the system from trusted media after preserving evidence. Root-like persistence can hide from normal tools, so trusted imaging provides a cleaner recovery path. Self-cleaning from the infected OS, antivirus exclusions, and extra privileges increase risk. Question 90. Which tool category helps a manufacturing plant detect suspicious process behavior across endpoints during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 90? A. Endpoint detection and response. B. Analog modem. C. Label printer. D. Cable toner only. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Endpoint detection and response. EDR monitors endpoint activity and can detect, investigate, and respond to suspicious behavior. Modems, label printers, and cable toners do not provide endpoint behavioral security monitoring. Question 91. How should a legal office reduce risk from a critical vulnerability with active exploitation while preparing a remediation plan for scenario 13 to 91? A. Disable vulnerability reporting. B. Patch only systems with no network access. C. Delay action until every low-risk issue is closed. D. Prioritize patching or mitigation based on severity. The answer is D. Prioritize patching or mitigation based on severity, exposure, and exploitability. Risk-based prioritization focuses remediation on flaws most likely to be exploited and most damaging. Low-risk first patching, isolated only patching, and disabled reporting fail to address urgent exposure. Question 92. Which practice best hardens a new server image for a managed service provider after a recent audit finding for scenario 13 to 92? A. Leave vendor credentials unchanged. B. Apply a secure baseline that disables unnecessary services and enforces approved settings. C. Turn off audit logging permanently. D. Install every optional service by default. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Apply a secure baseline that disables unnecessary services and enforces approved settings. Hardening reduces attack surface by removing unnecessary functions and enforcing secure configuration. Extra services, default credentials, and disabled audit logs increase compromise and investigation risk. Question 93. Which access model should a retail chain apply to reduce unnecessary privileges on the database cluster during a pilot deployment? A. Shared ownership for all files. B. Open relay. C. Least privilege. D. Implicit trust. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Least privilege. Least privilege gives users and services only the access needed for their roles. Implicit trust, open relays, and broad shared ownership increase access beyond business need. Question 94. Why should a city agency separate guest Wi-Fi from internal systems while documenting the incident ticket for scenario 13 to 94? A. It lets guests administer domain controllers. B. It guarantees all guests are malware free. C. It removes the need for encryption. D. Segmentation limits what guest devices can reach. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Segmentation limits what guest devices can reach. Segmentation creates boundaries that reduce lateral movement and protect internal resources. It does not prevent endpoint health, replace encryption, or justify administrative access. Question 95. After malware is detected on a laptop at a research lab, which immediate containment step is appropriate as part of the risk reduction project for scenario 13 to 95? A. Quarantine the device from the network. B. Connect it to every file share for testing. C. Copy unknown executables to production servers. D. Disable all security tools. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Quarantine the device from the network. Quarantine reduces the chance of spread while investigators determine scope and impact. Broad reconnection, disabled tools, and moving executables into production increase exposure. Question 96. Which vulnerability scan type gives an insurance firm deeper configuration findings on authenticated servers before the production rollout for scenario 13 to 96? A. Uncredentialed external ping only. B. Credentialed scan. C. Phishing simulation only. D. Screen capture scan. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is B. Credentialed scan. Credentialed scanning can inspect installed software, patches, and configuration settings from inside the host. Ping-only tests, screenshots, and phishing exercises do not provide the same host-level vulnerability detail. Question 97. How should a hospital network prioritize two vulnerabilities when one has active exploitation and internet exposure during a service reliability review for scenario 13 to 97? A. Patch only systems with the lowest business value. B. Fix alphabetically by system name. C. Ignore exploit intelligence. D. Address the actively exploited internet facing vulnerability first. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is D. Address the actively exploited internet-facing vulnerability first. Exploit activity and exposure increase likelihood, so they should strongly influence remediation priority. Alphabetical order, ignoring intelligence, and low-value only patching do not reflect risk. Question 98. When a scanner flags a service that is intentionally blocked by compensating controls, what should a university department do while updating the runbook for scenario 13 to 98? A. Validate and document whether the finding is a false positive or accepted risk. B. Delete the scanner report without review. C. Disable every control around the service. D. Assume all findings are always exploitable. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Validate and document whether the finding is a false positive or accepted risk. Validation separates true risk from inaccurate or context-limited findings and supports defensible tracking, deleting reports, weakening controls, and assuming exploitability without analysis reduce program quality. Question 99. Which control best protects a financial services team's public web app from common HTTP layer attacks for the next maintenance window for scenario 13 to 99? A. Web application firewall. B. Plain FTP server. C. Managed hub. D. Analog phone splitter. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is A. Web application firewall. AWAF can inspect web requests and block patterns associated with attacks such as injection or cross-site scripting. Phone splitters, hubs, and FTP servers do not provide HTTP application layer protection. Question 100. Which tool should a remote sales group use to detect sensitive customer records leaving through email or uploads during a quarterly review for scenario 13 to 100? A. Jumbo frames. B. DNS round robin only. C. Data loss prevention. D. Wake on LAN. Take a moment to choose your answer. The answer is C. Data loss prevention. DLP identifies and can block unauthorized movement of sensitive information. Wake on LAN, DNS balancing, and frame size changes do not inspect sensitive content for exfiltration. Thank you for watching. For professional exam preparation, tutoring, and study guides, scan the QR code or use the contact information shown on screen.